Hey, welcome, all my right thinkers. Thanks for tuning in. Check out your boy, P Funk. Thinking right out here in the lab, and I'm in the book. We about done. I got maybe one or two more lessons, and we got a couple more days of the year, so I'm right on point. We did a book in 1 month. Boy, this is fun. All right, let's get to the lesson. We're going to talk about the process of controlling one's senses. That's the physical body, minus the smell. I know they only use four, so I'm gonna break it down for you. This is gonna be fun. This is what it looks like. Again, I'm gonna break this mural down for you. You see the five guys outside the boat, and you see the headdress. They have headdress to tell you who they are. These are all aspects of your character. One is for sight, one is for smell, and not smell. One is for hearing, one is for seeing, and one is for knowing, touching, tasting. Those are all the senses of the body. You're gonna break down. And all those guys in the boat, those are all concepts of your mind. I see my girl Mayat in there. I see Tahuti in there. I see Het Hadu. I see Hadu. I see Net. I see all your mental concepts that come together when Rod do what he does. That's the boat. And it's teaching you how to control what? The outside senses of the physical body. It's all up here from neck up. It's called the bodiless zone realm. All right. Now, rightisms. 25 rules to live by. Storytelling. Story with a message. There's a message in the story for life. I give you life lessons. You tune and receive them. I appreciate you. We got a good thing going. Let's do what we do. Right thinking mission is to enlighten, inspire, educate, and motivate you, the individual, to a higher spiritual level of enlightenment. Right thinking's way of life through mental and spiritual discipline. Practice daily will help and guide you to attain your goal of reaching spiritual enlightenment, aka know thyself. My mission that all right thinkers know thyself. If you're a right thinker, your goal is to, know thyself. See where we're going with this? Let's get that together. So I asked the question, do you know you? You will when I'm through. Yeah, that's what I do. It's rhetorical, but if you don't have the answer for yourself, tune in. I got you. A person who knows not and knows not that they know not is foolish. Disregard them. A person who knows not and knows that they know not is simple, but you can teach them. That's why I do what I do for you. Appreciate you too. Stay tuned. I got more for you. A person who knows not and believe and think that they know is dangerous, avoid them. I do. A person who knows and knows not that they know is spiritually asleep. I can awaken them. I'm your spiritual alarm clock here to wake you up with knowledge of self. Yeah, that's what I do for you. A person who knows and knows that they know is wise. Follow them. All these persons reside in you. Right thinkers, know thyself, and to Maya be true. Right thinkers, let's talk about the process of controlling one's senses. It's a good lesson in life. I was gonna go by it. I says fluff, no, but after reading study, no, this is the important part because I learned how to. I tell you, my philosophy is from the neck up, and this is proving that. Let's go because it's gonna show you how the senses really don't matter in the next round. All right. Now, this process works. Meditation, the same way for all activities in life. No matter what it is, it will work. Meditation concept. Some of the most prominent areas that most people may recognize in falters in life are smoking, adultery, stealing, hurting the feelings of others, sexual encounters. These are key factors. The key factors here is what they're acting on, what impulse that's based on what physical body, desires of the body, and in the mind, rather than on what? The basis of what? Maya, what's true and righteous. You know being adulterous is wrong. And you do it anyway and justify it in your own mind. That's what we talk about. You don't do that. But this is the factor of what? Ignorance. To think you could do something that's wrong and it's going to be okay is just ignorant. Okay? You should know better. But the fact of ignorance, of course, but it also shows a sign of what? Weak will and intestinal fortitude for oneself. You would lower yourself to that for what pleasures of the flesh. Most people will take that most of the time. Why? Because they're going to get the pleasures. What I'm giving you is internal, mental stuff that you can practice and implement. They don't want that. You want material stuff, either pleasures or monetary stuff. I don't have that. Don't give that. Don't worry about that. But when you through the daily practice of my right thinking philosophy and yoga of meditation, the light of yourself, knowledge of yourself will increase, and as it what illuminates one's mind, it allows you to discover your increasing wisdom and devotion to what the truth and the will to act righteously when daily. My emphasis is the same thing. I practice that. I know that. I live that. The first task in project of controlling the process, controlling one's senses, is the mind is to be what? Controlling the senses, not the other way around. We just showed you if the physical body has its way, it's going to lure you into what? Its own desires and pleasures because it don't know nothing else. That's why. That's the ego. And the first task of controlling your senses, the following section I'm about to read to you right now, is truly devoted, 2 pages, devoted to what? Bringing you clear understanding of what your senses are and how they relate to what? The mind of the human experience. When you go into the next level, the mind concept from neck up, you don't need the senses of the body. Okay, but that's what we're going to break down for you. Let's go. The subject of controlling the senses is very important in the process of what? Daily meditation. The meditation is to get you to this point. In the yoga system of sage Patanjali out of India in 200 BCE, the process of what they call withdrawing the senses was termed as what? Pratyahara. I call it neck up conscious and leave the body out. I don't need this. Why? You don't need to feel, smell, taste. You don't need none of that. Okay? This is no use of you in the mindset, in the mental world, in the spiritual realm. Okay? And it also means they use the word withdrawing the senses, meaning touching, feeling, smelling, hearing, seeing ain't needed. And the senses from it, withdrawing your senses from all objects of the world. So now, as to what? Enable your mind, aka freeing one's mind, to have an unhampered experience of what? Consciousness. Through meditation, you concept communion with your higher self. You and God becoming one. That's the purpose of it. And they knew this very well. They did it extraordinarily well. That's why most of the smart, wise men come out the East. Okay? From mind, understanding, consciousness. And where there is no awareness of objects, person, place, or things in your mind, it's free. A free mind is a clear mind. That's what it is. And in Indian yoga, this experience, they had a name for it. You know what it's called? Samadhi. We call it enlightenment. They call it samadhi. Other ones call it nirvana. Other guys call it moksha. Christians call it anointment, resurrection, whatever. But everybody has a word for it, but they have a way to get it. That's the same everywhere. Righteous, virtuous living. Okay? And we call it in Egypt super consciousness. Okay? There you go. When you meditate, you raise your conscious level to the level where you become one with God. That's super conscious. God consciousness. I call it God consciousness. Okay? That's what knowing thyself. We call it nihas. Everybody had a name for it. So that means they know about it. Okay? And in ancient Egypt, they had the word called sahu, S-I-H-U. Or we had the religious concept, y'all call it ecstasy, the Eucharist. Okay? All those is physical aspects of a mind and body coming together with a concept that soothes the body, makes it feel good, without being what? Physical. And it was used. Now, when the senses, the physical body, when they are controlled and the mind begins to rise above them, now a unique form of peace. They called it Supreme Sun and Bottom. Unique peace and happiness arises where? In one's mind. It ain't from objects. It ain't from things. It's when you realize certain things that you putting forth in understanding, which is what term bliss, ecstasy, whatever you want to call it. We call it Hotep, supreme peace. Most people, wait a minute, this word right here, bliss. And watch this. They telling you, Most people do not ever have this experience. They don't get to know God. Why? They don't put the work in for that to happen. It don't just happen. Oh, God don't come. Who is it? God. No, it don't work that way. So the people who living right, doing righteous and good things, those are people that God acknowledges. Those are people that God will become part of. Other people, no. Simple fact. Okay? And it ain't got nothing to do with the senses. Okay? Your feelings mean nothing. I tell you, I don't do emotions. Why? They bad leaders. Good servants, terrible leaders. I don't let them lead me to any action based on my emotions or my feelings. Be they good or bad, angry or happy, don't make a difference to me. Cut that nonsense out. Why? Because it's not a good leader. That's why. Moving on. Now, okay, bliss. What they saying is some of us go through whole life and not experience that mystical experience, connection with God. Over and over and over. That's why we got lessons. That's why we got teachers. We already know everybody start out down here. Everybody don't end up here. If it's bad, what's this? Everybody be up top. Why? Because they ain't got to do much to do that. It don't take much. Most people do not ever have the mystical experience in their lifetime. Picture that. Except what? In a brief moment, what? After they have fulfilled a longing or a desire for something or someone. They associate that object with the source of happiness. And they happy for the moment. Yeah. Because what? When they acquire the object of their affection or their desire, now there is a brief period of what? Satisfaction. So relaxation and expansion. Because now the tension of wanting it, desiring it, has been what? Subsided. So you kind of, oh, I got it. So you wait till someone, another thought, another feeling, you go after that. It's okay. So now they strive to what? Acquire more and more objects, things. My old man loved toys. He loved that stuff. Not realizing, again, that those objects and the idea of possessing them are sources of what? Worry, distraction, and burden. For in your mind, in this condition, the mind degrades itself and wastes its energy looking for what? Objects, things to get into, things to acquire, longing, pleasures of the flesh, looking for objects and people, and never finding what? True peace or happiness in the thing that they think gonna give it to them. Pleasures, money, monetary things. They keep telling you it's from within. It must be understood that as far as any individual person is concerned, other people are also objects. But I love him. Okay, but he ain't a good. But I love her. She ain't a good learner. I love him. See? That's my son. When people out doing, your love don't stop nothing. It's just your emotion. Get past that. Moving on. In fact, everything outside of yourself is what? An object. And in reference to your individual point of view, none of that can make me happy or bring me happiness. Pleasures of the flesh, monetary thing, yeah, you can get all that. But happiness, no. That comes from within. Thus now, what's this? Thus, your mind is now conditioned, is considered to be what? A slave to objects. Ignorant people. Long as they getting what they want, they happy. They just loving it. And rather than being what? Their controller and their master, their objects are controlling them. They don't even recognize it. Why? They want this. I like that. Oh, I gotta have that. Oh, I gotta get that. You know them kind of people shop every week. Really? I shop out of need, a necessity for stuff. Not moving on. I ain't got time. But a person under self-control, senses of their senses, will not be able to control the movements of the senses. A person who is not under control of their senses, they will not be able to control the movements of what? The senses. Even if their mind, because it's still a little weak, tells them not to look at certain objects or listen to certain things, they're going to go against what? The intuitive mind telling them don't do something. They're going to do the opposite. That's becoming the devil. When the mind, the divine mind, give you or move and you don't follow it, you become the devil. The devil don't exist until you create it when you were in opposition to God. And you coupled with what? Your physical desires of the body. Now your senses are always in search of objects which are to what? Which they are interested to, and the desires of the body and of their ignorant mind, which does not understand that all these objects cannot satisfy any desire, but only multiply them to what? Infinity. You chasing an illusion. You're never going to be happy with acquiring stuff, things, relationships, make a difference. None of that's going to really bring you happiness. And no matter how much we say it, don't care. People still going to what? I'm going to do it. Okay. My way. Everybody got their own way. Again, there's 9 billion people on the earth and growing. There's 9 billion ways to get to God. You got your own way. I got mine. Why? I did it. So I'm just trying to help you. If you didn't, check out this. And if you think you got it, knock yourself out. All right. But this is the plight of what we call the distracted mind. The ignorant, uncontrolled mind will do what the body say, what the ego say. Okay? Fulfill its desires to have fun and pleasures and all that good stuff. It's not spiritual at all. So I just showed you that ancient Egyptian relief. In the previous page I just showed you is a scene from Edfu, an Egyptian temple. And it denotes, I'm going to break it down for you right here, understanding of the senses in relation to what? The self. The boat of Ra depicts the sun disk, which is an image of the winged scarab Capri and the morning sun in the center. That's what you see here. That's right here. You see where's that? You see where's that? See that? That's the sign of all-encompassing God, and everything that's in that represents his creation. It's inside of him. Everything he did is inside of him, emanations from him. But we're dealing with your mindset right now. This thing here is the most sophisticated piece of machinery, technology known to man. We have yet to match it, and we trying, but that's fine. God don't mind. Why? When you got it, you got it. My man said, everybody know H2O. How can we make it? Moving on, I love that concept. But I'm going to break down the concept of, first of all, you see him outside the boat. Break down here is tell you. It denotes that I showed you the scarab in the morning sun. That was in the center. Now, if you take note that there are certain gods inside and others outside of the boat. Total 5 outside the boat. The one here, he represents the king, the Ptolemy. He's the king, offering up blessings to the king here, offering up Mayat, okay, to Haru. And right here you'll see that he got 2 guys behind him. He got 2 guys over here and over top of their head. These are all signs of what they want right here. Breaking it down for you. All right, let's go. The one inside are those which denotes the qualities what? Which are innate in the self, which is you. That is those cosmic forces which are expressions of what? The divine itself. These is laws that we don't control. They're there. These are Haru Murti, Haru in the 2 eyes. On the boat, they're naming the people right here. In the first part, you see Haru Murti. I see that. Then you got Haru. Then you got the feathered lady wearing. That's Mayat. You got the lady with the horns, with the sun disk. That's Het Haru. Then you got the guy, Ibis Headbird. That's Tahuti. These are all aspects of God that he traveled with, that he rode with, that he uses as what? Aspects of himself to show creation and to keep us as human beings conscious of who and what we are. They breaking down the brain, okay? And every aspect of it as best they could. I'm learning that now, okay? Haru the child, the rising sun, and directly in front of the boat. Now in front of him is King Ptolemy, the 4, right here, with the headgear. That's him. Now he's offering up offerings. That's Mayat right there. Here's what he's offering up, okay? That's the highest offering you can have, okay? The highest form of worship back then. And Haru Praket, the child, he offering up Mayat, which represents truth and righteousness, okay? To the divine company, and behind the God, outside the boat, the 2 guys behind him, stands the gods of the senses, who HU. He represents taste and your divine sustenance. He's the one that let know when I'm getting it, I'm feeding it, but it's all God food. He represents pure food and godly food, meaning he understands. And Sa, S-A-A, he represents touch and feeling and understanding. These are parts of the eye, okay? Break down here. Where we at? Sight. Next one, no, you got Sa, which represents touch, understanding. And at the other end, outside the boat, stands the gods of senses. You got the one in front, which Ma, he represents, that's the eye, he represents sight. And behind him is Satum. It represents hearing. You don't see the smell. This is the smell. You don't have that. They got the four senses. But Hu and Sa were known to what? Serve as bearers of the eye. Again, of Haru, enlightened consciousness. They were also considered to be the tongue and heart of Asar Pata, the actual self. Thus, they truly represent an idea of being the vehicles which what human beings can what understand and espouse on the teachings of what they call moral and spiritual wisdom. They were breaking down how the brain works. Oh, genius, okay? But the positioning, and they did it in not words, they put it in signs, okay? We had to understand that. All right, pictogram, they called it back then, hieroglyph pictures. Now, in the current now, they got pictures. They're going back to reverting that to that for what I don't know, I ain't getting involved. But the positioning of the gods and goddesses is paramount. Why? Because it's important, because it points to the understanding that the netters within the boat itself are emanation of the divine, while those outside the boat are effects or reflections of the creative principles. Again, aspects. Therefore, the occupants of the boat may be understood as being what? Absolute. Permanent. They don't change. Tahuti, Mayat, they ain't changing. They ain't swaying. Neither will the other one, but this is, they call it absolute attributes of the divine. While the characters outside of the boat may be understood as relative manifestation of the divine, which represents time and space, meaning humans. Okay? The other one is outside the human realm. This is time and space. And this is signifies why significant, because it means that the senses are, you ready? This is not real and abiding, but conditionally and transient. It's here for a purpose. You use the physical body from birth to death to what? A vehicle to get you through this world, a physical world, to hope you gain knowledge of self. So when the physical body dies, you go home. That's the concept. But also their depiction of the what? Ushat, which is the praise and worship posture, which everybody's praising, okay? Upward hands toward what? The divine. It conveys the understanding that your senses are subservient. I told you, they're good servants, but bad leaders. They are sub, not above. Again, excuse me, I get excited. But again, prove my points. I like to make my stuff. I know where I got it from. I'll just make it up. So, just as the self has senses, the human body has senses, and these should be fully understood and total mastered and have the control of what? The soul, and not the other way around. There are two most effective methods in controlling and transcending the senses. First, through the use of mystical philosophy, stories, enhancing to get your mind thinking. And the mind is to be what? Rendered subtle. Through what? Sa, that's understanding. The faculty of understanding. I love this. And that's the mind can now realize at every moment that the objects which the senses are aware of are not absolute realities, and that they are just emanations from the divine and nothing to desire there. I make it clear. You can't get me, tempting me with stuff that if my emotions are under control, porn, money, those things ain't gonna make me jump. But if I'm weak in any other area, you might content me and get me to sway and make my mind go with my body. Don't work that way. The mind should keep the body under control, not the other way around. That's what they just explained to you. And this can only occur, but it can occur even as your mind is perceiving the objects, even as a person practices daily reflection, and I do, on your spiritual disciplines and your teachings that you're learning. As this movement occurs in one's mind, now it becomes easier and easier to what? Let go of the objects of the world, people, places, and things of your mind, and interests which are not in line with what? Mayat, or right thinking philosophy, correctness, righteousness, truth, etc. I'm not doing anything I know is wrong. Simple as that. That's what they're saying. Secondly, this is the second one. I'm about to take it home. We're almost done. Secondly, through the practice of daily concentration, aka meditation, your senses can be controlled whether or not there is awareness of objects. Why? Because concentration increases your willpower to what? Do what's right. So it don't make a difference how strong the pull or desire of the physical flesh is. The willpower will supersede that. Set have to be under control. That's the physical body aspect. So the senses can be controlled. I love this. Through what? Total understanding, mastery of what? And your willpower to what? Do what is right. However, when you had the integral practice of all your yoga disciplines and you use them accordingly, this will what? Assist in your movement to what? Have control and be able to transcend one mind over your senses, having control as above, so below. I'm controlling from here and making sure below adheres to what I'm doing. I don't acquiesce to the below. That's the lower nature. That's the ego self. If you let him call the shots, you're going to do some bad things. Wrapping it up. Now, where we at in the senses? The senses can be transcended through what? Through any of the paths of yoga, be it yoga wisdom, yoga devotional love, yoga of action, or yoga meditation. However, or right thinking. However, the yoga of meditation specializes in what? The art of all yoga enhances the practice of meditation. They all go back to this, but the meditation yoga strictly deals with all mind. When the control and the transcendence of your senses, the physical body, occurs, now the person may experience various kinds of what they call psychic phenomena, dreams or clairvoyance, seeing vision or whatever, or chance or channeling. All those things happen in the mind. And this is the lower form of transcendence. You're just channeling and you're just putting stuff in. But are you transforming to the next level? Now, in the advanced form, one goes beyond all human or ordinary concepts, thoughts and feelings, and encounters in region wherein there is now no being or no unbeing, no life or death, no desires, no absence, no self, no desires. And this region is when there's nothingness. That's where I tell you we want to go. They call it Ranchu, Amenta, Field of Reeds, heaven, whatever. But that's where nothing goes. Everything is just cool. And this region transcends what? All, and it is called Mutef. Told you. This also is called Asar. Why? He's the spirit that's for eternity. We want to get to hang out with him in eternity. That's afterlife. After this life, there's an afterlife with Asar. Y'all call Hades and hell, but we ain't going to hell. Okay, we going to the afterlife. Okay, Asar don't deal in hell. And the transcendental self, from which what? All souls, seer, subject, all objects seen, and you have the awareness of objects, sight, senses arises from, but thus having had your own mystical experience and over larger and larger periods of time, a human being finally discovers what? That he or she is that same transcendental, immortal, infinite, formless, objectiveless, genderless, nameless, formless entity, aka Supreme Self, and thereby merging with his or her own nature aka assault in the afterlife for whatever. And when this occurs, the human being is said to have reached what we call spiritual enlightenment of our ancient Egyptian terminology, nihas, or to have achieved what the Christians call it because of Christ's resurrection. Whatever you call it, make sure you have it. Why? Because at Judgment Day, that's what you're going to need to get to the afterlife. Are you ready? Hope you enjoyed the lesson. That one I got in there. Hope you enjoyed it. I had fun giving it to you. But we got one or two more lessons and the book is over. I'll be back with some more. You know how I do. And in closing, right thinkers, may you all live to be 100. Me, 100 miles a day. So I know none of my right thinkers who now understand who they are through daily meditation and have their own experience with God have passed away. And you know, we don't die.